Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weishuhn. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend Luke Clayton and his guest for the next hour.
This is Dustin Vaughn Warncke, producer of this fine show that's been airing for the past 20 years. Welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoor writer for the past 4 decades and writes for a whole host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly outdoors column that appears in over 50 Texas newspapers, and he's lived the outdoor lifestyle since childhood. Luke partners with such companies as Pyramid Air, the ultimate source for air guns and outdoor essentials, CVA muzzleloaders, and their fine line of CVA Cascade centerfire rifles, Smoke and Tex electric smokers, ATN thermal scopes and binoculars, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge in southeast Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation, Butcher Packer Supply, everything for the home butcher and sausage maker, the Dallas Safari Club at biggame.org, and the Saskatchewan Department of Tourism. Now, here's Luke to kick things off with his longtime friend, Larry Weishuhn.
Well, what a nice introduction. Folks, it is time for us to spend about an hour and have some fun talking about hunting and fishing. We're going to kind of equal parts hunting and fishing, but always the first segment of Catfish Radio is with my buddy Larry Weishuhn. Larry and I have been doing this together every week for, Larry, did you know it's 20 years now, buddy? 20 years.
Oh my gosh, Luke, I'll tell you what, it is, I've said so very often, this is the one thing I look forward to every week is to sit down and be able to talk with you, whether it's at a real campfire or kind of a virtual campfire. And, you know, we're in the middle of July. We're in the middle week of July. We've got we just come off of a great convention with the Texas Wildlife Association. Yep. We have got the DSC Summer Expo and DSC Foundation Gala coming up next weekend or next week actually. And I'm sitting here thinking about deer hunting and, good gosh, you know, DSC was fantastic. People need to become members there, and they can do that by going to biggame.org. And it's, of course, conservation education and hunter advocacy. And while we were there, we presented an award to the Legacy Award from the DSC Foundation to Mr. Steve Hornady from Hornady, which is accurate, deadly, dependable, and got to spend a fair amount of time with Dr. John McCall and Joe Cunningham at their booth at the Stealth Vision, and they're making some of the finest scopes available, of course, based here in Texas, and then too Taurus. I had a chance to visit with those guys and talk a lot about handgun hunting with Taurus Rage and Hunter that I use. But the other thing I need to mention is I'm thinking about deer season, and you know I love coffee, and I know you do too. And I'm sitting here. I came across there's a guy named Bobby Winfrey who is a friend of mine who become involved with a coffee company that he's kind of got me hooked on. I'll tell you what, it's called Agara Coffee, and it's a special blend that put together. It does all kinds of great things, and among other things, it's really helped me remember some details about hunts that I kind of had forgotten. So I'm kind of pushing it onto that, but that's pretty good stuff, and oh my God, if anybody wants to learn about it or even get some, and I highly recommend you do because it's really tasty. And you can go to agara.com/Bobby's Better Life. And I tell you what, it is truly some good stuff. And I think we got you kind of ready to get on all that as well too, Luke.
Boy, I tell you what, I love coffee as you do, Larry. Yeah, I'm anxious to try it out, especially this memory deal.
It may be scary.
Yeah, right. If it'll help some memory, I'm all about it. Folks, Larry's been last time we were together, which a couple of weeks ago. Larry had already was telling me about this Agara coffee and some of the benefits of it. I think just regular coffee, honestly, just stand alone helps people in a lot of ways, and you know, well, yeah, maybe it's you know, might raise your blood pressure, whatever, a little bit, but I love coffee. I think it helps with this. Whatever they do to it must be we'll learn more about it as we go along. But number one is Agara, AGARA.com. Is that right? That's the website?
Yeah.
Okay. I might need a little sip of that for freshen my memory here. Anyway, yeah, Agara Coffee. Okay, we're going to learn more about it. I'm going to be drinking some with you next time we're at a campfire.
Yes, we will, by golly.
Guarantee.
Yes, we will.
You're right, Larry. Less than, 2.5 months, we're going to be able to hunt. Deer season's going to be open early October. That's less than 3 months. That's 2.5 months from now. Those old bucks right now, I've got two trail cameras out by the house. And those bucks are, they're showing what they're going to be, I think, right now. The one, you can tell how many points they're going to have and what kind of frames coming up on them. It's an exciting time. It makes me think back many, many years getting ready for deer season. A lot of people, don't really concentrate on kicking their feeders off till about now, or maybe in a couple. A Texas rule of thumb: get your corn feeders going in August, right? I mean, we've been doing that for eons, but I keep mine. I live close to a spot where I hunt. I keep them going year round for hogs, but I have been seeing some good population of deer right here by the house coming in. Hadn't seen any bucks on it for a couple of 3 weeks. I did see one or two a while back, but they're hitting that corn, and it won't be long, Larry. It'll be time, buddy.
It won't be long. You're right, and I think part of the deal is what you mentioned right there is you've got does with fawns coming around right now.
Yep.
And really these bucks are still kind of bachelored up in bachelor herds. And I know in vision with David and Edgar Cotton over on their property and spending a little time with them, when you do see a buck, generally there's more than one there. And so they're still traveling together. But you're right, they're still kind of bulbous up on the tips of those antlers. And as long as they've kind of rounded up there on top, they're still growing. But the frames are there, the basic number of points. There may be some little kicker points, that start showing up kind of thing. But for the most part, these antlers are set. They'll keep growing probably until about, another good month, and then they'll start hardening, and then it won't be long after that as the daylight hours start decreasing, that testosterone level will start growing up, and by then those antlers will be totally finished growing, and then what happens is there's a boost of testosterone, and it constricts the blood vessels going up into what was the developing antler, and when that happens, it starts velvet come off by itself, but it's I'm sure it itches a little bit and all that kind of thing so they rub it off. And then interestingly, very seldom do you ever find any strips of velvet where a buck has, been rubbing the velvet off, because in most instances they will, when that velvet comes off, they'll eat that velvet. And it's kind of a conservation of energy that's produced, from that or with that. So, but we're not that far away. I mean, it's time to make sure that your rifles are shooting like you want them to, your bows, your crossbows, whatever you're into, or, like with you've got, let's see, crossbows, bows, real rifles, muzzleloaders, air rifles, my gosh. And then, of course, we got Jeff Rice who does with us on a Sports Live. Jeff's got all those, plus he's got a spear as well too.
A spear, right? Yeah, that's true.
I guess there's a lot of you're gonna have to do a little bit more preparation than what you and I are, because
I know.
It takes a little something.
I never, I cheer. I'm a cheerleader for old Jeff on that spear throwing, but that's yep. That's different strokes for different spears for different people. That's what he's actually been successful, and I get it. He loves it.
Oh yeah.
But he'll also take a 30-06 or a muzzle loader or a bow and shoot one. Yeah, I do. I tell you what, I'm really excited about is this 10-point crossbow. I've shot crossbows in the past, Larry,
right.
Years back, but it's probably been the last time I've really hunted with a crossbow, you were there out in far west Texas, not far from San Angelo.
Absolutely.
I remember I shot a buck with a compound bow. That was a fun hunt. I'll never forget that. That was the most challenging hunt I've ever been on in my life. I'll tell you why. There was a native West Texas deer herd, like anywhere in West Texas, and they'd fenced in about 1,000 acres on that ranch we were hunting. Well, right. they had some high genetic deer in there, some monsters, put it that way. And then they still had a contingency of just run-of-the-mill, West Texas bucks. And I never will forget that I was allowed in that area. They wanted to get rid of those native deer, and you didn't. Right. I remember asking the gentleman that was in charge of that. I said, "Well, I really appreciate getting to hunt in here, but what am I looking for?" And he says, "Well, you've hunted deer all your life." I said, "Yeah, I know about deer. I understand." He said, "Well, you're looking for a native West Texas deer buck, a run-of-the-mill buck, and you're not going to see a mature one that's going to score in here more than 125 inches probably." That's all I really needed to know. But when I shot, you remember, an 8-point with the bow, and he was 115-inch, probably a 3-4-year-old probably. But he was one they wanted to let go. But I remember there was one standing next to him that would have, one of those 180s, Yeah, oh yeah. I said, wait a minute. What was challenging wasn't so much in determining which deer to shoot. It was pretty obvious, but making sure that rascal was off to himself when you shot.
Yes.
But I got him. Then I used that. I was talking about the 10-point. The next morning I used a crossbow and hunted a different spot and got another one of those run-of-the-mill bucks out there. So, so I'm going to be – I've got – it's not hard with these 10-point or any good quality crossbow to get proficient pretty quickly with them, but it's the mechanics of it that I think people need to get ingrained in their mind, right? It's if you're hunting with a centerfire rifle, well, once it's sighted in, you flip the safety off and get steady and squeeze the trigger. But a crossbow, there's a few things that, cocking, decocking, a few things to learn, about them.
There really are, but the thing about it is the 10-point makes it so much easier than the other ones. I've shot crossbows a little bit, never so much hunted with them until I got this 10-point, and it takes a little bit. Okay, this is how I do this. This is how I do this. This is how I do this. And I remember when I first got started, I'd write down instructions that I carried with me on, either on the phone or in my pocket. It's really easily done, and the beauty of that is you can decock it, and let the string down and take the bolt off. And of course, my first hunt of the year this year is going to be for black bear on the Choctaw, and I'll be using a 10-point crossbow there. So, and that'll start the same weekend as our MLD in Texas and bow season in Texas, and of course archery season as well, and in Oklahoma and a whole bunch of other states. And then of course we're talking about being 2 months, 3 months away, whatever it is. But you look at South Carolina down in the Low Country, their hunting season for white-tailed deer starts there August the 15th. So we're a month away.
That's right, Larry.
From there,
I am being told that our segment 1 length is about done. So how about this? How about if we take a break? I'm not through talking about deer with you at all. And I have some more.
Great.
I got some more deer talk I want to do with you. Let's take a little quick break, and come back. How about that?
Fantastic.
Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weishuhn is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Luke, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34 millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on. That scope is leveled because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
Folks, if you enjoy hunting, I want to hook you up with Ultramatic Feeders. You need to know about this company. The website is ultramaticfeeders.com. There are a one-shop stop for everything you need with hunting blinds. They have all kind of different brands of hunting blinds, game feeders, parts for feeders. Again, the website is ultramaticfeeders.com. And friends, I've been using Smoking Tex electric smokers for over 15 years, probably closer to 20 years. You can go online to smokingtex.com. They're not one of your throwaway electric smokers that you can find at some package stores. These things are made to last. I've got one that I've been using for, well, that length of time, probably 15 years. Check them out online, smokingtex.com. Well, friends, thanks for staying with us. Mr. Whitetail, my buddy Larry's with us still. Larry, I didn't get enough deer talk. I'm getting fired up here thinking about 2.5 months it's time to hunt. But so yeah, the topic earlier was the different getting sighted in, getting ready. Well, absolutely, and that's right. I've got the 10-point. I've got it to be honest with you. I've got it out to 30 yards. That's as far as I'm going to shoot a deer anyway with it. But I know I've seen the videos, those things shooting accurate groups out to 100, but I do want to go ahead and shoot it out to 40 just in case. I might be doing a little hog hunting or something with it, but it is like shooting a rifle off a bench out to 30 yards, Larry. It's those things are extremely accurate. You know, I mean, it's going to be it's really a game changer because I've got a gearhead archery compound that I hunt with.
Right.
And that thing is out to 30, 40 yards. It's on. But the Crossbow is highly maneuverable, especially in like I hunt now out of these see-through pop-up blinds like you do a lot.
Right.
You know, and it's so easy, to move that thing around inside rather than, a vertical bow. So there's some advantages. The air rifles, yes, I've got that Air Force Air Guns 50 caliber Tex Rex.
Yes, sir.
I shot a buck with it last year. He was about 32 yards. But yeah, I got that thing. I want to use it for not only for fun hunting, but for an article or two. And then just the regular old, I'm excited this year, Larry, about a 308. This is the first 308 that I've ever owned. I am
really?
Yes, I've never owned one. But I got the CVA, the Cascade model, the 308. And I've got a good scope on it, and that thing shooting some tight groups. And I'm actually, Larry, I'm anxious to put one of the Stealth Vision scopes on it. I've got my Stealth Vision scope on a 6.5 PRC, which is a long range gun, but I'm anxious to scope it with a Stealth Vision. I'd like to get you to talk a little bit about optics, Larry. To me, having a quality scope. And I'm someone that's had some unquality scopes in the past.
I think we all have.
I think so. But to me, most rifles out of the box nowadays, and I'm not talking about $4,000 rifle center fires. I'm talking about one that'll cost for $400 to $800. Most of them are minute of angle, at 100. So, but the scope is where a lot of people don't, take or actually, I hate to say it, but spend the money to get a good quality scope.
You're right. And with the Hornady ammo that we shoot, which is unbelievably accurate, there's so many rifles out there right now, and CVA being certainly one of them, but also Ruger and Savage, and the list goes on and on these rifles. angles that now are costing, maybe $400 or $500 at the most. And if you really look, you can find them even cheaper than that. And they're certainly capable of being very accurate out to 400 yards. And you mentioned that minute of angle. So if it's shooting a minute of angle, mean 1 inch group at 100, at 4, it's shooting a 4-inch group. Well, that's fantastic, which is still is within a killing zone. And beyond that, really somebody, I don't care what kind of game you shoot, you really need to spend a gosh awful amount of time at the range learning, about wind and learning about all kinds of different things. But the optics that we use, the optics as a whole has come a tremendous way in the last several years. But as a gun writer for years for a lot of different publications and all those kind of things, I've shot a lot of different scopes. And the one I've gravitated to, yes, it's expensive comparatively, but is the stealth vision, like the SVT, like or the 3 to 18 or whatever. And really, you don't really use those longer upper end. To me, in most instances, anywhere from a 3 to 12 to 14 kind of thing. That's about the range that you're going to use it. Unless you're going to get out there and shoot steel and things like that, like I like to do too, out to 1,000 yards. But the optics these days that we have are really good. But there's really none better out there than stealth vision. And the reason I say that is for the first time ever, Dr. John McCall developed these, and Dr. McCall is a world-renowned eye surgeon. He developed all kinds of equipment for eye surgery, and so he's very familiar with the human eye, and he's a huge hunter and a huge shooter. And he actually started with the brain, went to the optic nerve, went to the eye, and then developed the scope. And almost all the other scopes that are, not almost all the other scopes that are out there were developed and then says, okay, learn how to adapt this to your eye. So it's a reverse of that, but those scopes are a little bit more expensive. But I'll tell you something, you mentioned you have the years on a CVA, and you've got another gun another CVA you weren't thinking about. If you got Picatinny rails, the thing about it is these scopes are that they have right now, and there may be another scope down the road from them, but these are 34 millimeter tubes, and they're that way because that way they accept more light coming through, and a lot of other things there as well too. But if you've got one of those Picatinny rails, those and some really good rings on that scope, what I've been able to do is I've got a couple of scopes. I put them on about 5 or 6 different rifles. Now, once I take it off of one, and all I'm doing is just loosening the not the rings, but taking it off that base, putting it onto the other base, and shooting it. And amazingly, it's been relatively close. Now, and I say relatively close because I'm taking them off of 25 caliber and putting them on, 33 caliber. And so the difference is there, you got different bullets and weights and all that kind of stuff. So, but what I found is that I can take that scope off, put it on a totally different rifle, set up the target at 100 yards of about a 24-inch target, and I'm going to shoot a perfect group somewhere on that target. Then all I have to do is adjust it, to where I'm shooting dead on at 100 or, whatever sighting I want to put into it. But those optics make so much difference. And really, to me, you're a whole lot better off buying a $350 rifle and spending $3,000, on a scope than to buy a $3,000 rifle and put a $200 scope on it.
Amen. Yeah.
Because it's cost you in the long run, because you'll shoot that for a while. Next thing you know, man, this scope's just not doing what I want it to. So why don't you just start out with one of these really good rifles, like you mentioned, CVA and a bunch of those others that are shooting so good, and they're relatively expensive, particularly compared to some of the custom guns, and go buy your really good scope to put on there, and then, if you really like that rifle and you go, well, I want one that's a little bit different. Maybe I've got a 6.5 Creedmoor and I want a 6.5 PRC or a 7mm PRC or, throw in the Win Mag or whatever. And you can switch that scope back and forth. All you got to do is just run a quick re-zero on it. And, man, it'll pay off for you in the long run.
That's true. I do quite a bit of hog hunting at night with thermals. Right. And that's something that I haven't actually tried. I'm old school in a lot of ways because once I get a scope mounted, and I don't know, it's a confidence thing with me. I know it is.
Right.
I know I'm on, and this
Exactly.
thing, that it's that type of deal. But yeah, so I've got a little a 223. It's a varmint, heavy barrel. It's a pretty heavy little rifle, short barrel CVA varmint gun. And then I've got the 6.5 PRC. I bet you, after you telling me this, and both of them have Picatinny rails, I bet I probably could switch that thermal over from one to the other, and just a minute adjustment, I'll bet you, and be on. So that, yeah, I might start. I bet a lot of people listening are thinking, with your old, like dovetail mounts and all that back in the day, that wasn't the case. But you're right. The Picatinny the spacing is the same,
Right.
and all that. Why wouldn't that work? I always learn something talking to you, Larry. But
I don't want to talk people out of buying more scopes.
no, or buy. Well, the best thing is go back to Luke's old school theorem. Set it up there and get it driving tax and leave it alone. But I've got an old Model 88, Winchester Model 88, yeah. and I've got an article next year in the Gun Digest to write about that. I did some research. My son did actually. That gun was built in 57.
Yes, sir.
And I got it. I was given it from a family member when I was like, I don't know, probably 22, something like that. But yeah, I'm anxious to get that old gun shooting. Now's the time. Deer season, like we talked about, it's less than 3 months away. Now's the time to get out there and do some shooting and make sure the rifle, and make sure you understand it and got it driving tax. And it's kind of fun. Do it early and late at the range, and you won't burn up out there, Larry. That's my tip.
That's exactly the best advice you can give anybody right now.
Well, Larry, we're about out of time. Thanks for coming back and
absolutely
shooting the breeze. That's a good way to put it. But I get a lot of comments, emails mostly about enjoy you visiting with Larry. It sounds like we're all just around the campfire, and I tell them I'll respond to each one and say, that's the way we do it,
Amen.
Well, next week we will reconvene and have some more fun, Larry. Thanks again.
Absolutely. We'll see everybody at the DSC event at Grapevine at the Gaylord, Texas.
Friends, this is Luke. If you're looking to refinance a mortgage or maybe buy some rural land or whatever, I want to recommend to you a company that I've had some stellar dealings with. It's Green Lending. Now, you can go online to greenlending.com. I'm going to give you the name of a guy that helped me tremendously, Jack Hamill. And I'm going to give you Jack's number. Give Jack a call if you want to refinance or you want to buy some rural land or whatever. Jack's number there at Green Lending is 440-223-2086. Or just go to greenlending.com and check it out. It's a great company. I had some wonderful dealings with them, and most of it was done online.
Big Sam left Seattle in the year of 92 with George Pratt, his partner, and brother Billy too.
Friends, this segment is made possible by Platinum Cadillac and Chevrolet in Terrell, Texas. Stop by and visit with my buddy, Mr. Justin Rudd, and his team of experts, and let them put you in a new Chevy pickup or a Cadillac or whatever you might be in the market for. Also, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma. Check them out at ChoctawHuntingLodge.com. Also made possible by Pyramid Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, folks, we had devoted a good bit of time with Mr. Whitetail, my buddy Larry, on the first half of the show. Let's shift gears. I want you to visit with a friend of mine that's a very interesting guy. Now, his name is Jeff Stewart. A lot of people know him as Jeff Crypto Hulk. He's a big old boy, and he's done a lot of studies about Bigfoot, things like that. That's not what we're going to talk about because I'm very inept at it. I don't even know the right questions to ask, Jeff. But let's me and you talk about hog hunting. That's something I do know something about. How about that?
Yes, sir. That's probably one of my most favorite things to do is to hunt what we always call here in East Texas, bushy-tailed hogs.
Bushy-tailed hog, yes. You know what, Jeff? I killed a mulefoot hog up in Oklahoma. This fall will be two years ago. A Choctaw mulefoot hog, by golly. Have you ever encountered a mulefoot up in East Texas?
Yes, sir. Whenever I was a younger fella, probably in my teenage years, the hogs had just really exploded here in East Texas. And we were trapping a few of them, and we actually trapped a sow that was a mule-footed hog. And that was the first one I'd ever heard of, first one I'd ever seen. And, of course, some of the older men around our camp, they all started talking about, the mule-footed hogs from way back in the 1940s and 1950s and stuff. And that was my first experience with one. And just an odd-looking foot on that character.
Well, it looks like a little baby donkey's foot, doesn't it? Really?
Yes, sir.
The Choctaw Nation is one of my sponsors. They have been a long time. And back in the 1830s, the Choctaw tribe during the Trail of Tears, I think the 30s, I'm pretty close to that, but they left Mississippi and they brought with them their breed of hog. It was a Choctaw mulefoot hog. And they're a little bit smaller hog than say, a Duroc or a Hampshire, whatever, regular meat hogs. But they brought them with them to Oklahoma. And through the years, like any hog, feral hog, a lot of them got out and whatnot. But the Choctaw folks have a group of a bunch of them, pure breed from Mississippi Choctaw mulefoots. Well, I got to hunt. I got one of those things. I got a taxidermist made me a little mount, with the feet, the mulefoots. But wild hog hunting in general, that's one of the things that we've talked enough, Jeff, and we've got a lot in common. We both love to hunt hogs and eat them, too. A lot of people ask me, though, I wrote one standalone book, and then Larry Weishuhn and I wrote a book on hog hunting here a couple of years ago, a joint effort. But a lot of people ask me, Luke, are they good to eat? Is that a loaded question or what? I mean,
That's a very loaded question because to me, the feral hog is it's a different pork than your store-bought pork. The feral hog's meat is more of a red meat than your domestic hog. Your domestic hog is a very white meat. Whenever you buy it in the store, that meat is a very light pink color and everything. But these feral hogs.
Yeah, they're wild.
Their meat is a lot darker in color.
Right.
And a lot richer in flavor to me than your domesticated hog.
You're right, Jeff. And to be honest with you, a lot of that reason, I'm sure, is a wild hog has got to work for a living. He's got to use his muscles to dig and get around. Where a domestic hog is pinned, and he's made to grow fast and fat, and But the flavor. Back to are wild hogs good to eat? I've finally got a good answer for that. A few years ago, I came up with it because I get asked that by people that don't hunt quite a bit because I do eat a lot of the hogs that I shoot. I ask them this: if you were going to go to a livestock auction and buy a hog to butcher, what would you buy? And they get it then. They get it. You're going to buy an old an old tough boar? Is that what you're going to buy at a butcher? Or are you going to buy a younger, growing, fatter hog? So that kind of answers that. And you know, something that I've had to overcome, Jeff, with hogs is I live in Hog Central in Kaufman County. There's so many hogs right here where I live, like down where you live in deep East Texas, same thing. But, you know, do I eat every hog I shoot? And the answer is no. I pick and choose, but when I go out, my goal is to shoot a fat young boar is always good. You know, one, say, weighs 125 or less. They're usually very good eating. But if I can pick and choose, I'll try to knock down a gilt, a fat sow, young sow, or an older sow that doesn't have pigs. That's some of the best. To me, the flavor of wild pork is. People say, "Oh, it's not nearly as good as deer." Or do you eat those old hogs? To me, I enjoy the meat as much as I do venison. But there again, I grew up on a farm in East Texas, in Red River County, where my dad raised 8 or 10 hogs a year, sold some, butchered some. So pork to me has always had a value. But I really appreciate the fact that you not only eat them for yourself, your family. The quality ones, I'm not talking about all of them, but you also grind it up and mix some beef fat with it, and you supply a lot of folks down there in East Texas with some quality protein, don't you?
Yes, sir. We kill a lot of pigs. I do eradication work for local hay.
Yep.
Growers, hay farmers, and people with cow pastures that don't want the cows stepping in rooting and breaking a leg. So we go out and with our thermals, and we set traps, and we do all kinds of stuff to help these farmers. So, you know, sometimes we're stuck with 8, 10 hogs, you know. So what I'll do is I'll take the ones that are good to eat, like you talked about, those prime sized and everything hogs, and I'll skin them out, and I'll advertise them on social media or something. Hey, is there anybody around here that wants, you know, some meat, or is there anybody knows a needy family or something? And whenever people message me and say, hey, you know, I'll take it, or I'll, you know, give it to this family over here or something. Well, I'll take it. I'll go ahead and butcher it, and I'll debone a lot of it. And I've got a big commercial size grinder where I process all my own deer meat and everything. And so I'll run it through there, and I'll grind it up and make hamburger meat out of it.
You bet.
And man, I'm gonna tell you what, that is about as fine a hamburger meat. And I have found the local grocery store, they will save me their trimmings off of their beef, and I will mix that beef fat with those pork trimmings.
Oh, yes.
And you want to talk about make some of the finest hamburger meat.
You bet.
And you can do anything with it. You can make hamburgers, you know, just like you would anything. You'll cook them in a skillet or on the grill or anything.
Yeah.
But you can also make spaghetti out of it. You can make meatloaf out of it. You can just tacos. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
If you can use ground beef, you can use this ground pork. And the good thing is with these feral hogs, the meat is not as saturated with fat as a domesticated hog.
Right.
Like you said, your domesticated hog, he's kept in a pen. He doesn't move very much. He doesn't go anywhere. All he does is eat and sleep.
And grow.
And therefore,
yeah.
Yes. And therefore, the meat on that hog is full of fat. It's saturated with fat. But these feral hogs, like you said, they got to work for a living. So they're out there rooting up worms and tubers and, eating my corn pile and everything else. Rooting crawfish out from around the banks of ponds and streams and things like that. So they're out working for a living. And that's why they are so much more lean and their meat is a lot leaner, and it is just it's really if people would just give it a chance.
You bet.
Instead of going, because they always think about a wild hog, they think of a big old nasty boar
That's
hog.
it. Yep.
With big old tusks sticking out of his lip and smells, you can smell him from hundreds of yards away. And that's what they think about.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
But if you would get in the mindset of thinking about 100-pound or less shoat.
Yep.
And that 100-pound or less shoat, and it doesn't matter whether it's a young boar or whether it is a gilt, it doesn't matter.
That's right. Yep.
If they would just get in the mindset that they don't stink and their meat doesn't have any kind of a gamey taste. A lot of people are put off by white-tailed deer and mule deer and things like that because they say it has a gamey taste. Me, I love that taste, but a lot of people are put off by it. Well, feral hog doesn't have a gamey taste.
No, you know what, Jeff? They're telling me we need to take a break. I've just scratched the surface. We need to. Well, let's take a break, and will you come back? I want to talk some more hog hunting with you. How about that?
Yes, sir.
Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back. Folks, I want to tell you about one of my long-term partners, and that is Pyramid Air. The website is pyrmydair.com. They're a one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Big bores, little bores, PCP guns, springers, you name it. All different brands, some great airgun supplies, but also a whole lot more. Archery, ammo, optics, shooting and outdoor gear, action sports, all this stuff can be found right there and ordered through Pyramid Air. So remember, go online to pyrmydair.com.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, I've been shooting and hunting with CVA muzzleloaders a long time. They are, in my opinion, the best muzzleloaders on the market. But did you know CVA also makes a very fine line of centerfire rifles, built to last and super accurate. Been hunting with those for several years. Check them both out, the muzzleloaders and the centerfires, online at cva.com. Folks, I want to introduce you to some good friends of mine at Dash for Cash Pawn Shop in Seagoville, Texas, located at 133 Hall Street. The phone number is 972-287-3121. Go by there and talk with Gary or Randy, the owner. They're great people. They've got some great prices. Again, that's the Dash for Cash Pawn Shop, Seagoville, Texas, 972-287-3121. Well, friends, thanks for coming back and staying with us. We still have Mr. Jeff Stewart on with us talking about hogs, hunting. Jeff is kind of like me, I think. He likes to eat this wild pork, and he wrote a book on game cooking a while back. Jeff, we like to, we are blessed today. Wild hogs can be a curse to some people, and I get it. I digging holes in farmers' hay meadows and all that. That's why we got to take care of them. Try to get their numbers whittled down, but we also get to put a lot of pork in the freezer. Now, in your book, you mentioned the ground meat, the ground pork. You can use that. You compare that to ground meat that you buy at the grocery store. There is no comparison in flavor. And then you granted, it's going to be a little bit dry, so you put the fat with it, and you've got your 80-20 blend, better than any flavor-wise than you could get at the grocery store. What's one of your favorite ways to cook wild pork, Jeff?
One of my all-time favorite ways to cook my wild pork is to make it's a dish that I kind of make, and I don't know if it got a name anywhere else, but I like to take, I've got a pellet grill, and I like to take that pellet grill, and I will put my little Dutch oven on that pellet grill, and I will cut up this wild pork into about 1-inch cubes, or maybe a little bigger. It doesn't really matter. I put it in there, and I put a little beef broth over in there with it, and spices, little garlic, little onion, little chili powder, little salt, black pepper, and cilantro, and I will put that on about a 250-degree heat and close that pellet grill and let that cook. And I'll let it cook for about 2 hours, and then I will put my lid on that little Dutch oven and let it cook for about another hour. And then I will go out there and take it off and then pull that meat out of there, and I'll take a couple of forks, and I'll shred that meat up and then add it back to that broth.
Mm-hmm.
And then we take and I'll brown up some tortillas, corn or flour, and then put that in the middle of that tortilla, and I'm going to tell you what, that's about as fine a eating as a person could ever want.
You know what? It's probably a good thing we don't live real close together. That recipe, the way you did it with that Dutch kettle. By the way, was there smoke that first part when it was uncovered? Was the lid off?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I do.
Yes, sir. I do a heavy smoke.
Yep.
And I like to use a mesquite pellets on there whenever I'm making that. That for some reason that mesquite, it just adds a little bit different and a little better flavor. I've tried the hickory and I've tried the oak blend and things like that.
Yeah.
But for some reason that mesquite just gets in that broth and gets in that meat. It kind of cooks in it, and you get a not just a really strong smoke flavor, but you get that little hint of smoke flavor every bite you take.
Yeah. Yep.
Of that, and it is just wonderful. And the great thing about doing that is once you've eaten all you want to, you just take that and you put that in a container or a baggie or whatever you've got, and you can stick it in the freezer.
Yeah.
And we'll actually take the small little quart-sized baggies, and we'll just portion it out for one person and put it in there. And that way, say, you want lunch or something, you just pull one little baggie out, heat it up in the microwave or whatever, get it back warm, and then put it on a tortilla, and you've got lunch.
Or if you decide, hey, wouldn't a good barbecue sandwich be good? Bingo. Put a little barbecue sauce on it, right?
It makes an excellent barbecue sandwich.
Yep.
It does. And I'll tell you something else. There's another thing that's just wonderful, and that's to take a shoulder off of this feral hogs and put it on the smoker and smoke that shoulder for a couple of hours real low, but with a good heavy smoke of whatever wood you like. I like a pecan. Mm-hmm. And smoke it, and then take that and wrap it in foil. Like you said, these hogs are a little leaner.
Yep.
And I like that whenever I wrap it in my foil, I will add a fat substitute in there, butter.
Yep.
And it's got to be real butter, not margarine.
Right, exactly.
Because margarine is vegetable oil.
Mm-hmm.
But the real butter that has the actual fat, the real fat in it, and add that on top of it. Yep. And then roll it up in that foil, and then let it cook another hour or two on there. And then when you open it up, it's just falling off the bone. And then you can take that, and like you said, you can make barbecue sandwiches out of it. You can make tacos, out of it. You can do anything with it once it's already smoked and cooked.
You can. It's a versatile meat. When you were talking about cooking those cut up pieces in the Dutch kettle, I do that a lot. And I've done it variations of what you just talked about too. Making pulled pork, if you will, out of it. But
yes,
I've made chili. I don't eat chili that's not smoked anymore. I mean, I don't make chili that's not smoked. I'll take all that meat that I've smoked, and after I would put the lid on it after it's got the smoke flavor, and I use a Smoke in Texas. It's an electric smoker. that you can just saw off some hickory wood or pecan wood and stick in this box down there and create your smoke. So smoke in Texas is the way I do it, but just so you get it smoked, it doesn't matter what you use. But then I'll take it when it's through, and then I'll put some onion in there, some jalapeno in it, some cumin, or a lot of times I'll just use chili mix. Wicks Fowler, they make a awesome chili mix. You know what it is, yeah.
Yes,
I'll just put some Wicks Fowler in there and some tomatoes, chopped up tomatoes or whatever, and the smoke flavor is there in the chili, and the meat is already done. Then I'll put it up on a burner for maybe, just kind of blend it all together. That makes the start that you did in that Dutch kettle with that smoking that meat. You can do so much with it, including make some tasty chili.
I actually, about 3 or 4 years ago, I killed a big sow. I'm talking about this. She was probably 200 pounds or better. And I butchered her out, and we happened to be over at my sister's house, and I'm the cook. Anytime we get together, everybody, they want me to cook.
Yep.
And my sister said, you know what? She said, I wish we had the stuff to make chili, your homemade chili. And I said, well, sis, don't worry about it. I got you covered. And I took a ham off of that big old sow, and I diced it up pretty small, but I didn't grind it up. I didn't make hamburger out of it. I diced it up.
Chili meat, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I put it over there, and I browned it off in a cast iron skillet.
Yep.
I browned it, and then I added it to my Dutch oven.
Yep.
And added my other seasonings and spices and liquids to it and everything, and turned it on low and just put the lid on it and let it cook for a little while and tender that meat up. And then I added my cumin and my tomatoes and my this, that, and other to it. And when I got done and everybody ate, everybody said, hey, don't ever make your chili different.
That's right.
Make it with that pork every time. They're like, we love it with the deer and with the beef and with everything else, but this pork is the best.
It is. Folks, you probably ascertained here that Mr. Jeff and I not only like to hunt hogs, we like to cook them too. One quick one. We got a few more minutes, Jeff. Schnitzel. Schnitzel is a German chicken fried little steak. That's all schnitzel is.
Yes, sir.
You can take backstrap, cut it real thin, not real thin, and then pound it with a meat hammer, aluminum hammer, or a jacquard is what I use. Tenderize it and dust it with panko, or you can use flour, whatever, and make those little thin cutlets. And you talking about tasty. That is so good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll tell you what I like to do. When I make my version of a schnitzel is I will take my either ham that I've cut or the backstrap.
Yep.
And I'll cut it and do like you say, I'll flatten it out, what have you. I will take that and I will put that in a bowl, a glass or a plastic bowl, not a metal bowl, and I will cover it with buttermilk.
Yes.
And then I will put that back in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. And the enzymes in that buttermilk.
Lactic acid, you bet.
Yep. Yes, it will work on that while I'm getting everything else ready. And then I'll take my flour and I will mix garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and black pepper. And that's it. I don't put any other seasonings in there. And then I'll pull that buttermilk mixture out, and I will add about 2 eggs to that and take my hands and work those eggs into that buttermilk and those steaks.
Yep.
And then I'll take them and I will flour them, and then I'll fry them in my cast iron skillet with just enough. And I'm old school. I like to use lard. I know I probably ought to be using some safer and more healthy oil.
I'm not convinced. I'm up in Canada where I go quite a bit up in Saskatchewan. They use lard all the time. Some of these recent studies are proving that lard is not bad for you. So anyway,
Well, I'll tell you what. I buy it at the store where the Mexican seasonings and food and stuff is. They always have a big old gallon bucket
of lard,
little bucket of lard, and I buy that. I fry my catfish in it.
You bet.
I cook my deer steak, and I love to cook the schnitzel in that. And I tell you what, if you'll bread it with that flour mixture and then drop it down in there, and as thin as that is, just as soon as your flour has browned through and through, it's done. Pull it off.
It is. You know, we're out of time, Jeff. We must be brothers from, what do they say, another mother or something?
Yes, sir.
After talking to you, we cook our pork a whole lot, almost exactly alike. We are out of time. Jeff, our guest is Jeff Stewart. Jeff Crypto Hulk Stewart. And that's kind of, like I say, that's a subject that I don't know much about. We'll talk about that sometime, the crypto part of your knowledge. But I do appreciate you being on talking about hogs with us, Jeff. To get that book, your cookbook, how do they find that book?
Oh, goodness. They can go on Amazon or they can just Google Texas Jack's Wild Game and Venison Cookbook.
Okay. Texas, I'm writing it down. Texas Jack's Wild Game, right?
Yes, sir. Wild Game and Venison Cookbook.
Okay. Well, folks, I think we need to order one of Jeff's books. Thank you, Jeff, and we'll get you back sometime. We may talk catfishing next time. How about that?
I'm going to tell you what, that's another subject I can talk all day about.
Thanks a lot. Friends, I hope you've enjoyed our show. You know, this is our 20th year to be doing Catfish Radio, and I enjoy doing it now probably more than I did when I first began. It's lots of fun every week. But I want to tell you about a destination, one of my favorite destinations, and it's the Choctaw Hunting Lodge. It's up in southeast Oklahoma. Maybe an hour north of Paris. I don't think it's that far, but it's an awesome place. You can go online to ChoctawHuntingLodge.com and check it out. Beautiful lodge there, trophy deer hunting on thousands of acres of Choctaw tribal land up there. It's just, if you ever go up there, you will return. A lot of eastern turkey in that part of the country, and probably our closest destination for many Texans to have a real chance to kill an eastern turkey. So that's got that going on. Exotic hunting, hog hunting. If you're an outdoor person, you'd love a visit there at the Choctaw Hunting Lodge. Folks, we are out of time. Make sure and tune in next week and be safe in the outdoors.